Sorry.
Oh, no problem. Pat, I know you said that you're not as busy as a coach as you used to be, but were you involved when Barb Honchak first got started?
Well, she trained with Steve Berger down in St. Louis
Okay.
for quite a while. And they moved, her and her husband moved to the Quad Cities because he got transferred, I believe, to a job up there. And so she showed up at the gym and said, hey, she used to train with Steve Berger and she'd love to start training here. And have worked quite a bit with her. Junior Hernandez has worked with her a lot also, but been fortunate enough to be there with her for a couple of fights. Watched her win her world title and become the number 125-pound woman in the world. And I can't name a guy that I've ever trained who works any harder than Barb.
Yeah.
Her work ethic is amazing. Very, very tough. You can tell she's hurt at times and won't stop. So I have a lot of respect for Barb.
Yeah, I was there for her fight in Kansas City when she won, and she, in the post-fight press conference, she said that she's only just beginning as a fighter. There's so many more things that she thinks she can learn from you and from Miletich that she hasn't even become the true fighter she can be yet.
Well, she's pretty damn good.
That's what I told her too. So,
Yeah.
But as far as prospects go, I mean, you've seen so many fighters come up that way and become champions. I mean, at one time it seemed like every weight class in UFC was a Miletich fighter. So where do you feel like the whole Miletich fighting system stands today?
Now the people that I used to coach and train are training people now, and Jeremy Horn's got his gym, and a lot of other guys are out doing their own thing, and so nothing lasts forever. That's. For me, I knew that going in. I burned the candle on both ends as hard and as fast as I could as a coach and as a fighter. And, I reached my goals, I guess, as a fighter, as a coach. And it's important for me to move on, to do other things. I still love coaching. I still love grabbing fighters and saying, hey, let's fix your footwork, let's do this, let's do that. But ultimately, I want to spend time with my kids. And this job allows me to do that. I still train law enforcement and military a lot. My partner helps me a lot with that, Don Roberts with Firehorse Combatives. But, coaching was, I had 50 kids that were grown men, that I had to take care of and really, was at the gym constantly. If I was out of town, even when I was in town, I was never eating dinner with my kids. And so time to put that on the back burner and have fun with Mike and call some fights.
Well, I'm actually piggybacking off that question to you, Mr. Schiavello, because I know you go all around the world and back again, from Australia to Japan to the United States again. So it's amazing seeing you do all these fights. I mean, I've watched you call fights 3 a.m. in Japan my time. So yeah. Do you ever get jet lagged? Do you ever get broken down by it all?
Yeah, sure, definitely. Not so much now that I'm based in America, and I've been so for the last 2.5 years, based out of Las Vegas. It's cut down a lot of the travel, but for 2.5 years there, I was travelling back and forth between the US and Australia every 10 days doing shows. So I'd go from Melbourne to LA, which was a 15-hour flight, rush from terminal customs through to another domestic terminal and hop on a flight to somewhere in mid-America, like here in Lincoln, Nebraska, which was another 3-4 hour flight, and then head back to Australia the next day. Next 2 days later. It was tiring. Going to Japan and all the shows we did in Europe and across Asia, and I think I worked it out that I've commentated in more than 20 different countries. So it did get tiring, but you look past that. It's all part and parcel of the job, and I don't think there's one sports announcer out there that in some way does not feel the effects of travel, but you're rewarded by the perks of the job. Getting to see the world, getting to see different cities, getting to see great sports events, have the best seat in the house, and having one of the most fun jobs you can possibly do to make a living. It's fun sitting there, being the adrenaline rush of live TV. Working with someone like Pat, who I have a ball with all the time, and even when we're not working, we have a ball hanging out on the road, going to dinner and chatting and talking and hanging out. I mean, how many other people can say that about a 9-to-5 job? They may be stuck in an office in a cubicle that's 3x3 all day. Here we are getting to travel around and commentate a sport that we love.
Well, I think it comes through in the commentary, because when you are screaming, it's an explosive, scintillating, succulent fight, good night, Henri. People can tell that you're really enjoying yourself on commentary.
You do, and I think as a commentator, you have to feel that, and I think you can't force it. I think there's some fights where, I'm not as excited as others, and because Sometimes you're not feeling it. Sometimes they're boring fights. And Pat and I will happily admit in a commentary, we're very honest as commentators. We're perhaps the most honest commentators out there. We'll say, this fight's boring. This fight's a snooze fest. Go make yourself a cup of coffee. Go to the toilet now. Come back after it. We'll tell you there and then. You know, if it's a dirty fight, an ugly fight, we'll tell you. If it's a great fight, we'll tell you. We don't keep our emotions in check. And I think it's nice for a commentator to have that sense of emotion and that honesty come through. Because if you're honest with the people at home watching, then you're taking them on that journey with you. They can relate to you. Whereas if you're trying to sell every fight as the next super fight and two guys are hugging it out on the floor, people aren't going to believe you. You know, so I get excited for the fights that are excitable, and fortunately, you know, the majority of them are excitable fights. These are guys on smaller cards outside of the UFCs and the Bellators that are trying to make their way to the big leagues, and therefore they're putting on the most exciting fights they can. So for me, it's always easy to get excited about them.
All right, well, Mr. Miletich, I'll piggyback off that right to you again, because we've got two guys who are UFC experienced in the main event. Dakota Cochrane tried out for the Ultimate Fighter. Efren Escudero won the Ultimate Fighter. So give us your thoughts on that fight before it takes place tonight.
Well, Dakota Cochrane has a lot of power, great ground and pound, seems to be stronger than most guys he fights, but he has a problem sometimes being consistent. And Escudero's a solid fighter, technical guy who might be able to cause him some problems, confuse him a little bit and get him frustrated, which that seems to snowball in a bad way for Dakota Cochrane sometimes. So it could go either way. I never call fights that I actually am commentating on, but I think it comes down to strength and wit, to be honest with you.
All right, similar thoughts, Mr. Schiavello, or?
Yeah, similar thoughts. Dakota for me is one of those guys who, when he's hot, he's hot. When he's cold, he's cold. It depends what Dakota comes in tonight. We spoke to him yesterday. He looks like he's going to be hot, but, you know, 24 hours, a lot can change from after you weigh into the night of the fight. Escudero is on a great streak at the moment. I think he's won his last 3. He's eyeing a return to the UFC. He wants to get there. He wants to do it spectacularly. You know, if I'm going to be a betting man tonight, I'll probably hedge my bet in favour of Escudero. But, you know, that said, it depends on what Dakota comes in. If Dakota can get Escudero on his back and keep him there and grind away on him, the kid's got awesome ground and pound. If Escudero can move around on his feet and outpoint him and, you know, get a good position if they do go to the ground, then it's Escudero's fight. On paper, a very, very hard match to call. But I really do think it comes down to, you know, which Dakota's going to come tonight.
And in the co-main event, we have a contenders fight where the winner gets to face King Kevin Casey. That's not necessarily a great reward for anybody, but do you have any thoughts on the co-main?
Yeah, it's going to be a solid fight as well. I think a very good matchup in styles. And like you said, the thought of taking on Kevin Casey is a pretty daunting thought, but that's what I like about RFA. They let you know it's there. It's okay. You beat this guy, you get this guy for the championship. And the other thing on tonight's show we're going to see is, we'll talk about that main event, is that last year, all the main event winners throughout 2013 of the main events on RFA all ended up in the UFC. Every single one of them. You won a main event in RFA, you ended up in the UFC. So, you know, by building guys towards championship fights and building them towards these main events, RFA's proved themselves as a very nice little breeding ground, a platform to launch yourself into the big one.
All right, well, I guess that'll be my last question for Mr. Miletich then. Do you feel like the Access TV fights is the vehicle to launch guys, or do you feel like this is a platform for guys to just shine on their own outside of UFC?
Well, it's both. But, you know, I think, to be honest with you, it's a little frustrating for him and I to call a lot of fights. In one sense, it's nice of us to be able to push them along, but it'd be nice to keep commentating on those kids as their careers grew also.
Yeah.
So that's one frustrating thing for Michael and I. We'd obviously love to keep those guys around, but they need to pursue their dreams, go for the big money, the big world titles, and things like that. So it's definitely a launching pad.
All right, well, Mr. Miletich, I'll start with you. Any closing thoughts you'd like to share before we wrap this up tonight?
You know what? Just keep watching Access TV, and we enjoy the job, right?
We do.
We love calling the fights for the fans at home, and we love it when the fans send us tweets and messages and let us know that they're enjoying, you know, what we do. So thank you.
All right, and Mr. Schiavello?
just mirroring Pat's thoughts, thanks to all the fans, all those who are watching every Friday night. And, we were out there calling the fights. We enjoyed them, and we hope you enjoy them too. And a big thank you to Wrestling Observer as well. You guys have been fantastic supporters for a long, long time. I love the website, love Dave Meltzer. I think he's one of the best in the business. And don't know how he manages to get all those scoops that he usually does, but good on him. And, thank you for the support, guys, and happy anytime to chat to you, and keep watching Access TV.
You like Meltzer?
I like Meltzer.
He likes Meltzer.
Oh, you should hear what Dana White said to me about Dave Meltzer.
I like Meltzer. It's okay.
Yeah,
he's a good guy.
He's a good guy to work for. Gentlemen, thank you very much.